Good evening. Welcome to the April membership meeting of the Montgomery County Civic Federation. My name is Cheryl Gannon, and I'm the president. We will begin, as always, with our routine business. First is approval of the agenda, which appeared on page 2 of the new newsletter published online. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Are there any abstentions? The agenda is approved. Next is approval of the minutes of the March meeting, which were published on pages 7 to 9 of the newsletter. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion
to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. Next is the treasurer's report. Jerry Garson is our treasurer. Go ahead, Jerry. Jerry, I muted you. Jerry? What happened to Jerry?
Looks like he walked away for a sec.
Okay.
You're too efficient, Cheryl. That's what it is.
So Alan, so we can spotlight you. Do you, how many people will be speaking tonight?
We have 4 folks from WSSC.
Okay, so it's Alan and who else?
Chloe Tesfaye, our Deputy General Manager, Glenn Diaz, Utility Service Director, and Alan Savaggio, Asset Management Manager.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, is Jerry back? No. Okay, we'll do the treasurer's report a little later in the program tonight. Joyce, do you want to take over?
Sure, I can give a brief kind of bio of the 3 that I was aware of anyway. I didn't know about Alan, so I apologize to Alan Satejo. Am I getting that right? That all I have is his title. But welcome, everybody. Alan Wong is the chief engineer. He has been with WSSC since September of 2025, and before that, he was in San Francisco and Atlanta, and also was involved in some of the lead cleanup in Flint, Michigan. Welcome, Alan. We have Akile Tesfaye, and I apologize if I got the name pronunciation wrong. He's the Deputy General Manager of Operation, and he's in charge of providing water and sewer services to everybody. He joined WSSC in May 2023, and before that, he had a nearly 30-year career with DC Water, most recently as Vice President of Wastewater Operations. And we welcome you, Akil.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, and again, my apologies if I got your pronunciation wrong. Glenn Diaz is the Utility Services Director, and he heads up the department, the team that does inspections, maintenance, and repairs of water distribution and collection systems, and he oversees meter services and that sort of stuff. He has spent the past 28 years at WSSC Water Planning, so he knows a fair amount about it, I guess. And he has been managing operations and maintenance programs to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and sustained reliability and resilience. And as I said, and Alan is the asset management manager, if I took notes correctly. And we welcome the 4 of you here to educate us about WSSC and what it's doing and what it sees in the future and how it's dealing with all of these leaks that we seem to have. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. So would you like us to start into our presentation?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. It says the host has disabled attendee screen sharing. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do something different.
Cheryl, I think you have to allow Cheryl, if you're the host, you have to allow screen sharing.
Yeah, I don't think I am the host, but let me see.
I am the host, so I am looking for it.
Okay.
It's under host tools across the bottom.
The other Alan.
The other one.
Either that or under share.
Well, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
Well, let me make you co-host.
okay.
Yep.
I think.
No, not yet. Not yet. Here we go.
Not yet.
Make a co-host. You should be okay now.
Okay. Yes.
Thank God.
Now I just need to get to my other screen here. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to shift this over. I will begin. Let's see. Can everybody see my screen now?
We cannot.
You cannot. Well, let's see.
So try the share button at the bottom of the screen and see if you can just share one of those screens.
Yeah. Screen one, share. Okay, let's give that a shot.
There you go.
Ah, okay. Thank you. So,
And I think if you click on slideshow, you might be able to full screen.
it should work, yeah. How's that? All
There
right.
you go. There you go.
Okay. So we're going to give you a brief introduction to WSSC Water, and our Deputy General Manager, Clay, is going to do that. Then we're going to move into the Capital Improvements Program. We're going to talk about asset management and some of our asset situation leading into the Capital Improvement Program discussion. We're going to be talking about master planning. And then we're going to go into production and utility services, which both Glenn Diaz and Chloe will be participating in. And I'll talk about funding a little bit. And then we'll wrap up with our emergency response program. So, Chloe, would you like to start, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes. No.
Well, good evening again. I am in a conference hotel lobby, so you may hear some background music. I couldn't not really find any quieter space, but I hope you don't mind. So again, I'm Akili Tesfaye, Deputy General Manager for Operations at WSSC Water. So as you know, WSSC Water is an anchor institution in the communities it serves within Montgomery County and Prince George County. And with 107 years of no drinking water quality violations, WSSC Water is the 8th largest water utility in the United States, serving 1.9 million customers within the 1,000 square miles service area that I described earlier. WSSC Water is 1,700 strong Team H2O staff. The staff we refer to as Team H2O, and we deliver essential services around the clock, including delivering on an average 162 million gallons of clean and safe drinking water daily, and supporting the 115 billion economic output of both counties. For fiscal year 2026, WSSC Water operating and capital budget is 1.8 billion, and we have a 6-year 4.9 billion capital improvement program that Alan will be speaking to meet investment needs and upgrade WSSC Water's vast infrastructure that is valued at over $9 billion. Going to the next slide, I will provide a description of our system again, and in some level of detail, and also on the assets we have to provide context for the discussions on the capital improvement program and funding that Alan would describe. So the figure that you see on the slide, it shows WSSC Water's Smart One water system, with the water system displayed at the top in blue, and the wastewater system shown at the bottom in green. The system is supported by the Potomac and Patuxent rivers and large reservoirs with a combined storage capacity of about 15.5 billion gallons for regular use as well as for emergency supply. WSSC operates 2 water treatment plants that produce an average of 162 million gallons of drinking water per day, along with nearly 5,800 miles of water pipelines, 60 clean water storage tanks, the elevated tanks that you see, standbys that you see throughout the counties, with about 150 million gallons of capacity, and 19 water pumping stations. Its wastewater system, that shown by the green line, includes about 5,600 miles of sewer lines, 36 pumping stations, and 6 treatment facilities, which we refer to as water resource recovery facilities, with a combined capacity of 95 million gallons per day. In addition, WSSC Water's bioenergy facility at Piscataway, that facility processes about 60,000 wet tons of biosolids each year and converts them into renewable natural gas that is sold to Montgomery County for running buses and electricity, producing roughly 125,000 decatherms of energy and about 4.5 megawatts of power, helping reduce waste and support sustainability. The next slide is to show where the water we serve comes from, the water you receive comes from. The map shows where your water comes by the different shades. The Potomac system supplies about 70% of the service area across both Montgomery and Prince George counties, while the Patuxent system supplies about the remaining 30%. In some areas, customers receive a blend of water from both systems to ensure a reliable and consistent supply. The next slide, I would describe the responsibilities of 2 of the major core operating departments that provide water and wastewater services around the clock. We have dedicated teams of outstanding staff who deliver these services 24/7, 365 days under all conditions, be it severe weather or any other scenario, ensuring uninterrupted operations. And these teams perform exceptionally well in maintaining reliability and services to our customers. Slide 7, which you see the previous slide. if you go to the production, one of the departments, the major core departments is the production department. It is responsible for reliably producing and delivering safe drinking water and ensuring effective wastewater treatment for the region, and therefore the term production. It operates and maintains reservoirs, water filtration plants, distribution and conveyor systems, water resource recovery facilities, solid treatment such as what I mentioned, the bioenergy facility, and water quality monitoring throughout the 1,000 square mile service area, as well as large laboratory, while ensuring regulatory compliance and supporting environmental sustainability. The other core department is utility services, and the director of utility services is on the call. The department provides 24/7, 365 days support for water and wastewater systems, including emergency response and customer dispatch calls, emergency repairs and replacement of water and sewer pipes, meter services, that is reading, repairing, and replacement of meters, and fire hydrants. One of the core services we provide besides drinking water and wastewater treatment is fire protection. We have significant number of fire hydrants in the system that we maintain. It also provide fire protection services throughout both counties. It also manages asset programs such as inspection and condition assessments to support capital planning and reduce system risk and ensure regulatory compliance in general, and provide training and development for operating units throughout the commission. That kind of gives you some background information on our system and the key core departments provide delivering the services to you around the clock, 365 days a year. With that, thank you. If you have any questions, I can take them, or maybe at the end of the presentation, we can all have them at the same time. Thank
Why don't we
you.
hold them to the end? Thank you.
So at
Okay.
this point, we'd like to have Alan Savageau, our asset management manager, take up this next section, please.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Alan Savageau, Division Manager of the Enterprise Asset Management Division within Engineering Construction. So I work for Alan Wong. I'm going to go over some of the high-level data that we have related to our buried assets, water and sewer. We get some of that information, like Akile just mentioned, we get some of that information from utility services through their condition assessment program, but we also calculate, doing desktop models with some data that we have, we can calculate condition of our assets. So I'll get into that real high level, but what you see here is two graphs for our buried water and sewer pipes in the ground, and it gives you the average age of those pipes. So in context, for our water pipes, we have over 5,900 miles of water pipes underground, and about 41% or 2,400 miles of those pipes are over 50 years old. And then with the group in orange there is the pipes that are 31 to 50 years, and then the pipes that are younger than 30 years. So that's a breakdown of our water infrastructure underground. And then on the other side, you'll see the sewer infrastructure. So over 2,600 miles is over 50 years old, which is approximately 46%, because we have 5,600 miles of sewer underground within the two counties. The missing information on that you'll see on these graphs and the previous graphs, that just shows there is a very small amount of data that we actually are missing from pipe segments underground for various reasons, but it's less than 1% for the water and less than 0.1% for the sewer, where we're lacking information for those pipes. What you see here is what we call condition assessment score for the pipes, both water and sewer. You'll see scores 1 through 5 in the pie charts in the top left and right hand side of the slide. Condition score of 5 means that the asset by our desktop models are telling that this asset is nearing its end of its useful life. A score of 1 means it's a brand new pipe. So we have a scoring system of 1 through 5 that tells us how long on the decay curve a particular asset is and if it needs to be replaced. So the two graphics at the bottom for water buried and wastewater buried provides an average of all the pipes listed in the pie charts above, the average score. So you can see for the water buried, the average score of all of our pipes underground. And again, that's over 5,900 miles, is a score of 2.9, which is right around a 3, which is about the middle of its life cycle. Wastewater buried has an average score of 2.2, which is slightly newer. You can see that that's in the green. So what we do every year is we try to prioritize our work. We try to package projects that have pipes with the condition score of 4 or 5. We try to create those packages so we can replace the water mains before they actually fail. But as you know very well, that in the winter months when we get extreme temperature changes, that's typically those months is when we see our pipes failing, and then things slow down once the weather warms up. And we are working on better machine learning and AI models to help us identify the pipes that are prone to breaking before they actually break so we can include them in packages for replacement. Next slide. This is just a bar chart. Thought it was interesting. I might share it with you. This ties into the data that you saw on the previous 2 slides. But this tells you when the pipes were installed. So we have every 10 years, we have a list of when our pipes were installed for that 10-year bracket. And then we can have a chart tells us, about how old our pipes are and when they were installed. Now, keep in mind, the materials that WSSC and any utilities have used over over 100 years, the material has changed, and every material has its own life cycle. So we track that as well, depending on the type of material and the wall thickness of that material. We have an expected life for that particular pipe, so they're not all the same. Some of our expected life can be as short as 40 years, and some of it goes past 100 to 125 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit about master and facility planning. This is being managed by our planning division within engineering construction, but they work very closely with asset management staff. So I'm going to share a little bit about this because this is a fairly new effort that we're ongoing at WSSC, and it involves all of our assets. And when I say all of our assets, we have over 670,000 assets that we track within our asset management program. That's vertical assets like our treatment plants and pumping stations, as well as the buried pipes that we just talked about. But approximately 640,000 of those 670,000 are buried pipe segments. Next slide. Okay, on this slide, can everyone see that slide well? It looks like it got caught halfway in between.
Oh,
Maybe it's just my screen. There we go. That's better.
okay.
Okay, so overview of the Master and Facility Plan program. This effort, there's a schedule later on that I'll go over, but in summary, they're going to create 2 system-wide 20-year master plans. This is going to look out 20 years into the future, one for our water system and one for our wastewater system. And then we're going to have 10 facility plans, 5 10-year facility plans. And each of those facility plans are listed below. There's going to be one for water supply and treatment. There will be for water delivery systems. And there will be one for buildings and grounds. Buildings and grounds includes WSSC's depots, our headquarters building, and as well as our consolidated laboratory. And then on the wastewater side, we'll have wastewater treatment and biosolids management, and we'll have wastewater conveyance. So these are going to be living documents. That's probably the biggest change when it comes to plans, the way we've done in the past. A plan may be developed every 10 years. It's used to plan work for a couple years, and then it might sit on the shelf for a while, and then we do another plan 10 years later. These are going to be living documents, constantly pulling in data from different sources. Much of that data will be asset management data, and it will be a living document and updated regularly or listed here continuously. There's collaboration with both the water and the wastewater master planning. They get together regularly and they make sure that they're approaching the how they handle master planning and how they make their calculations and their prioritization to make sure it's in line with how the other program is doing it as well. And these facility plans, as they are developed, they will generate new CIP projects over the next 20 years. They will be planned out and they will be prioritized and sequenced, and then our CIP budget will be updated. Next slide. Okay, the water and wastewater master and facility planning schedule. What I mentioned before, as you can see right now, we're in this started at the end Q4 of fiscal year 25. There's been a lot of work done, but as you can tell, we're not even halfway through it. But I would say the bulk of the work has been done. We are approaching Q4 of fiscal year 26. The efforts have already started, identifying some new CIP projects. Master planning efforts have already gotten underway, and there will be a draft master plan done by the end of Q4 of 26. So in June of 2026, there will be a draft master plans will be completed, one for water and one for sewer. Concurrently with that, there will be draft facility planning going on. That requires a lot of inventory of everything that's out in the field. That is currently undergoing, and there are literally multiple meetings every single day of the week to get this underway. The draft facility plan will be completed into Q2 of fiscal year 27. So in December 2026, we expect to have our draft facility plans as well as our final master plans completed. And then fast forward to Q2 of fiscal year 28 or December 2027, 12 months later, that's when the final facility plans will be completed. That's where the projects will be identified and sequenced. And that's where we'll have some very good information update our CIPs. And then the next slide. Okay, this slide's got a lot. I'll go over the high level stuff, but be able to answer questions at the end on any of this. But just so you know, the details that their master and facility plans go through is they're working with other departments, they're working with operations, they're working with asset management, they're working with their general services department, they're working with Homeland Security. And I probably have even left someone out, but they are collecting data to do gap analysis and try to look at everything at once. So when we look at a facility, we're not only looking at, hey, our aging infrastructure, we're looking at future regulatory needs, we're looking at capacity needs, we're looking at information related to Homeland Security, whether we've got physical security or cybersecurity updates we need. Everything's being looked at the same time, and they will be filling in the data gaps in any of those areas. For example, they will be doing condition assessments if we don't have up-to-date condition assessment data for our assets at our facility. They have started evaluating I&I, so inflow and infiltration, and recommend solutions for reduction of that. So we have less water coming into our collection system that reaches our treatment plants, and what that does, that can stress our treatment plants. So we're trying to address I&I, and we have a focus on that. And right now we have an effort led by Alan Wong where we're focused on trying to reduce the I&I that goes to Blue Plains and goes to DC Water, because that can impact our operating budget. We are trying to reduce our risk. Everything we identify in asset management, we have a risk score. We provide that to master and facility planning. And one of their main goals is when they plan these future CIP projects is identify and prioritize the projects that reduce the most risk. We are identifying new levels of service and performance measures at the same time, so we can actually measure ourselves a little better than we've done in the past to see how well these efforts are actually doing. And there's ways of doing that, and one of the main ways is to really view our risk, view our operational risk, view our capital risk, and measure ourselves each and every year to make sure we are truly reducing our risk. We are trying to enhance reliability and resilience. In the past, a lot of utilities focus is on the physical condition of your assets and trying to make sure they don't fail before it's too late. But you also have to look past that and look at reliability and resiliency. Examples of that is making sure you've got assets that won't be flooded out to where they can't work. So we have to look at floodplains. We have to look at backup power sources. Those are some examples that are ongoing with master and facility planning. And like I mentioned before, we got to comply with service and regulatory mandates and protect the health and safety of customers and employees as well as the environment. So um, um, and one thing I did fail to mention is that when we do prioritize projects, we also look at the counties we serve and look at their priorities, and we try to coordinate that. We also include counties' priorities into our prioritization matrix. And that pretty much sums it up. With that, I will turn it over to Alan Wong, who's going to talk about our capital improvements program.
Thank you, Alan. Well, we're going to look at some more numbers. Hopefully, your eyes aren't glazing over. But I wanted to focus on the first two areas of this graph, of this chart. The dark blue or the darker blue is the 6-year total of the 6-year capital program for our water mains and pump stations. So that's most of our linear water system plus the pump stations. And you can see that the budget for 25 to 30, that 6-year span was 1.752 million. And this is thousands, so it's 1.7 billion, okay, for that 6 years. And this, every year we revise and readjust our capital programs. So for the next 6-year period, starting in FY 2026 to 2031, is in green, and you can see it's been reduced to 1.18 billion, which is about a 32% reduction. So we try every year to schedule our projects so that we are staying within our revenue budget and our revenue goals, and we're also conscious of our rates. And so this balancing act happens every year. On the wastewater program, you can also see not as much of a reduction, but you can see reduction from 979 million to 712 million. So that's about a 32%, I'm sorry, a 27% reduction. These other areas or portfolios in our CIP, again, we're working on them in parallel, but this is how we manage our budgets and how we track them year over year. So to look at more granularity in terms of one fiscal year, this is our FY 2026 capital program distribution. And for the water program, there's 120 separate projects, which total 172 million. And then if you go down to the bottom of the page on the left-hand side, you'll see 132 projects on the wastewater side, totaling 156 million. And you can see the rest of our capital dollars are distributed over these other areas. These other, we call them portfolios or programs. So then with the capital program we have, obviously we need funding. to make those projects, to deliver those projects on time, and obviously meet our service level goals in the system. So just a couple quick slides here. On the revenue side, we can see that 79%, this dark blue part of the circle or graph here, is the revenue that comes in is generated from what we call volumetric charges, which would be volumetric use of water and volumetric discharge of wastewater. So that's 80% of our budget is used and is funded from those rate revenues. When we go to the next slide, you'll see that of every dollar that comes in to our financial system, 41 cents or 41% of it goes to capital projects. So these are the projects that we are implementing now, and that we will be implementing as a result of our master and our facility planning process. So we will continuously generate capital projects that will need to be designed and constructed, generally over 2, 3, or 4 year time frame. So 41 cents out of every revenue dollar is used for those capital projects. We see a major, another slice, 34 cents for operations and maintenance, which would be for all of our staff and all of our material, all of our energy costs. So that's another healthy share. And the rest of it actually goes to the salaries, benefits, and so forth of our employees, 25 cents. And then we're all talking about and experiencing inflation. And this graph was using 2025 data, but you can see that some of the major drivers of our cost increases are, one, the debt service, because we issue water bonds, so we have to pay the debt on those bonds over the years that we hold them. That's 4%. We have a regional wastewater disposal charge, and that is mainly from our discharge of wastewater to DC Blue Plains plant as part of an intermunicipal agreement. And so our cost share for treating that wastewater makes up 7% of our budget. We have heat and light and power at 9%, and this continues to increase. And while we are a very green utility in terms of using renewable energy in our portfolio, we're still seeing a major increase in our heat, light, and power cost. And then health insurance costs have skyrocketed in the last 3 years, and so we're up to about 10% year over year in terms of health insurance increases to support our staff. And then the question always comes to WSSC. Well, where does WSSC fit within the group of water utilities that are our neighbors in the region? And the good news is that since 2002, you can see that WSSC has stayed below all of our regional sisters and brothers out there in terms of the other agencies. And we're just a hair above the U.S. city average, which would include all the major cities across the U.S. So we're trying very hard to maintain and retain our rate increases, and we are doing well compared to our sisters and brothers. But there's not enough cost containment that can be done, because we know there's a lot of pressure in terms of the rates, especially for the folks in our neighborhoods and communities who can't afford a large slice of their daily or weekly or monthly budget to go for water and wastewater services. So what we wanted to do also is we noticed in your invite your focus and concern about the Potomac Interceptor emergency that DC Water had to deal with. And so I wanted to spend some time and have Glenn Diaz and Akile both talk a little bit about our emergency management program. So Akile, do you want to lead this off, and then maybe Glenn can talk about the example we have at the end of this segment?
Yeah, Glenn, Glenn can take it from here. Can
Okay.
explain, using examples too.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Glenn Diaz, Director of Utility Services at WSSC Water. If I can just get verification that you're able to hear me well, that would be appreciated.
Yes, we can.
Thumbs up. Good. Thank
Loud and
you.
clear.
Thanks. Before I get into emergency management, just want to touch a little bit on our proactive assessment program. Alan Savageau mentioned the assessment we do that feeds into the CIP and I'm going to focus a little bit on wastewater, especially because of one of the questions that I saw regarding the failure on the DC sewer and how can we avoid those types of incidents. So WSSC Water has approximately 560 miles of large diameter sewer mains, and that is ranging in sizes 15 inches to 102 inch. With that, there are about 12,000 manholes on those assets as well. From a proactive standpoint, we have a program in place that actively inspects all manholes on these large sewer mains every 5 years. And so the inspection of the manholes give us insights into what the condition of the sewer mains could possibly be because of the, installed during the same time, materials are very similar. And so the failure rates and failure modes are similar. And so we inspect every single manhole every 5 years on these large mains. We're also performing internal inspection and condition assessment of approximately 10 miles of large sewer mains annually. And in doing so, we're deploying a wide range of technologies to make sure that we're able to capture as much information as possible to make informed decisions so that we can make recommendations for reconstruction to feed the CIP and avoid failures as we can. But as we know, failures do happen. And I'll talk about an example of a recent failure that we addressed in Germantown. So in terms of, just preparation for failures, we have a full emergency management team led by our emergency manager, who is responsible for internal and external coordination in the event there's an emergency. We have an incident command structure that we set up. As a matter of fact, just earlier this year, we had an in-person ESOC that was set up to address emergencies, and we had probably about a 48 to 72 hour in-person command set up so that we can quickly make decisions at the senior level, coordinate with external partners, and also give guidance to our teams in the field to make sure that we can address issues as quickly as possible and return service to our communities as quickly as possible as well. And we keep our commissioners updated just so that they can update the folks in the respective counties, making sure that we're able to give as much information to our stakeholders as possible. In addition to that team, we also have we through our asset management program, we identify our most critical assets, focusing again on large diameter assets. Once those assets are identified, we have a few already created, but in the process of creating site-specific emergency response plans. So we're able to respond depending on the emergency, respond pretty quickly because we would have already performed investigations of the site where we can access different parts of the assets, what permissions we need, and how we can get heavy equipment into certain areas to get repairs done. We have contractors that are retained currently and are ready to respond in the event of an emergency. We maintain contact with our contractors, making sure that they're aware of the response requirements, trying to figure out how quickly they can get certain equipment on site, even outside of what the contract calls for, what types of pumps they can procure or secure and how quickly that can happen. Just whatever mitigation efforts are needed for these large main failures. And so a good example of that is the failure we had in Germantown on March 19th. We were made aware of a failure of a 30-inch sewer right in front of the Germantown Elementary School. We immediately dispatched crews, secured the area, and we started setting up our emergency response team. By the next day, we mitigated any threat of an overflow by having bypass set up. 8 bypass pumps were set up pretty quickly. 18-inch bypass line that stretched 1,000 miles was all installed within just over 24 hours of getting on site, bringing equipment, mobilizing, and performing the installation of the bypass. And at that point, on the very next day, the threat of a sewer overflow was eliminated. Crews worked 24 hours. We asked the contractors to staff the site 24 hours every day. So they had 2 12-hour shifts, and repairs started immediately after the bypass was set up. For that site, as you can see here, we had, was road closures. All safety measures were in place, making sure that citizens were aware of the road closures. The site was well lit. We had quite a bit of communication with our stakeholders, multiple press releases sent daily. Social media was kept updated so that everyone was aware of exactly what was happening, when it was happening, and when the pipe was to be returned to service, and we would have cleared out. So for that repair, we replaced 110 feet of 30-inch pipe. We completely repaired 2 manholes and performed a number of restoration. We had to redo sidewalks, repave streets. There was some disturbance to the property at Germantown Elementary School. Made sure that was all restored. And by the 5th of April, we were off-site, demobilized, pipe back in service, no further disruption to the school. This event did impact the school for just 1 day, and we stayed in total contact with the school, spoke to the principal and other officials at the school to make sure that whatever needs they had during this emergency, they were all met. And so this is just an example of our response to large sewer main, and we have a similar program for water main emergencies. Thank
Hey,
you.
Glenn, that was excellent overview, and I just wanted to edit the record because this is being recorded, and I think you mentioned 1,000 miles, but it was actually 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Alan. Thanks for that.
No
I wanted
problem.
to see if you were paying attention.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So at this point, we'd like to invite any questions. We're here as long as you need to be, and just would be happy to answer as many questions as we can. Thank you.
Cheryl?
We're going to take questions now. If people can be concise so that others with questions get a chance to ask them. Jerry, go ahead.
Has WSSC considered having a pipeline from for fresh water reservoir at the Jennings-Randolph Reservoir, which is in West Virginia and Maryland, and then so we could have clean water in the western part of Montgomery County, similar to what New York City has done to get clean water from upstate New York. We should only use the Potomac River water only when clean water is not available from the reservoir.
Well, Jerry, thank you for that question. This is Alan. I'll start off, and I'll ask my colleagues to support me in this answer. But we are actively looking at alternative water sources, fresh water sources. It's going to be addressed in our master plan, but we also have a task force that we've stood up, and we're working with other agencies, including some in Virginia. And that is definitely a high priority, Jerry, for us to identify alternatives because the Potomac is just a unique resource, and it doesn't have enough redundancy. Alan Savageau, are you familiar with one of the locations we're looking at besides this reservoir that Jerry mentioned? I think it's the Travilla. Is that correct?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yep.
the Travilla. That is being evaluated now, and we have looked at. I think the Jennings Randolph Lake in the past. Is that what the gentleman is speaking of?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that has been considered in the past, and I'd have to reach out to our colleagues in our planning department to find out a little bit more about the history of that. But right now, I think the focus is to evaluate Travilla, which is pretty close to the Potomac plant, and utilize that as a reservoir as well. That's what I know about this at this point, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Yep.
I'm going to take a couple of questions from the chat, and then we'll go to Joel. Fairfax water rates are half of WSSC's rates for many customers. What is WSSC doing to address affordability?
Well, we're addressing it in several dimensions. One, as I said, we have this significant affordability program that I'm trying to remember, Akile, what this year's budget is. Is it possibly 10 million? I'm trying to remember the figure, Akile.
Financial assistance to
Yes.
based on
Yeah,
there's a number. There's a program in place to provide assistance.
So that's one dimension of cost containment. The other area is to evaluate how we can deliver our CIP projects in a shorter period of time, and of course, therefore more efficiently. So we are bringing on board some advisors from the private sector this late summer, and they'll be working with us to identify some avenues that we can explore and implement that would allow us to be delivering our projects faster, which means we're going to reduce the cost per project. The other area we're looking at is in the condition assessment arena. We spend a lot of time and resources and equipment, as Alan Savageau mentioned, and also Glenn, in terms of field investigating the condition of our systems. And so there's newer technology out there today, including some of the AI and machine learning technology that can allow us to evaluate the data more quickly and make decisions quicker. So it's a number of things that we're looking at, but these are all parts of the cost, let's say, containment program. One of these won't do it.
Okay. Kira says, my water meter was replaced last summer. The account maintenance charge increased 100%. Why does meter replacement cause such an increase? The meter is read automatically and a bill is created once every 3 months.
So
This is
I
a
can
purple one,
address,
Glenn.
Alan.
Go ahead.
And we will have to get back to you on some of the details of the account maintenance charge, but the increase is not a function of the meter change. I imagine that the time the meter was changed is probably coincidentally around the same time of maybe some rate increases that were put in place. But meter changes does not change the maintenance fee or any of the other fees that you see on your water bill.
Okay. Joel Titlebaum, unmute yourself.
I think I unmuted. Am I being heard?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Gentleman from WSSC, I have two questions, but the first one is the most urgent. Local news media reported that last week, WSSC announced that they're cutting the fluoridation level in the community water supply for Montgomery and PG County by almost half because they ran out of fluoridation chemicals. Can you explain how that happened? Since the other agencies, DC Water and Virginia Public Utilities, have not had that problem, and fluoride is essential to public health, particularly for children's teeth and the teeth of unborn children among pregnant mothers. And beyond that, what can you do to explain how that loss happened and how you can fix it and remediate it pronto? Thank you.
Yeah, let me take this question. I appreciate your concern and your feedback. So the supply issue is really a national issue. The supply chain has sources that have been affected by the external environment outside the United States, obviously the international market, and what's happening also around the Middle East. So it's not only WSSC Water, but Baltimore has the same problem with supply chain. Fairfax has a problem. Throughout the United States, utilities are constrained because of this supply chain issue that is a national issue. We have reduced it, obviously, as you stated. Target is around 0.7 milligrams per liter, and we have reduced it to 0.4, again, to make sure that we preserve, and as well as because the sources are now restricted in a way, so we make sure that we get through this time, and hopefully some utilities have now also experienced resumption maybe in the supply, but we're also looking all other options that we have to make sure that the supply chain we mitigate the supply chain issue. So again, we have not completely stopped it, reduced it from 0.7 target to around 0.4. So it's really a supply chain issue, not only affecting WSSC Water, but regionally as well as nationally.
Okay, sticking to WSSC Water, it looks like you didn't have reserve stocks enough to carry you through a gap like you just described, whereas other water companies had the reserve stock, BC Water, Virginia Water Utilities. Forget Baltimore. Why can't WSSC plan, as you talk about, ahead and get reserve stock so you don't get up against this situation? And what are you actually doing to acquire the supplies and fix your supply chain? But first of all, get enough supplies to bring it back up to the 7 parts. as soon as possible, like next week. Can you do that?
We do have storage, by the way. We do store weeks of storage in our system. So it's some of it, again, as I said, it's a supply chain issue. We're looking
Yeah,
into.
but supply chain's not a good enough answer for our local water system. You need to be on top of that and not just say it's a national problem. It's our problem and therefore your problem.
Right, I understand that. We're doing everything to make sure that we get adequate quantity to maintain the target.
What are you doing to plan to make it happen, as you were talking
Yeah.
about all these big CIP and operational plans? What have you
Well,
got in the works to really cover this gap?
It's not really an issue of storage. And as I say, we have weeks of storage in our system. And in fact, that's how we were able to mitigate it. But it is really going back, and unfortunately, it's the supply chain constraint.
Well,
But
then that's not good enough answer. You should have been storing more and anticipating these things as part of your planning. It looks to me like there's a lack of planning and a lack of foresight.
We take your feedback, and we would definitely provide you updates, as you know, not only to this, to this team, but also, to our customers. We'll make sure that we provide updates on where we are on the supply chain and what we're doing.
Have you reported this to the county and state public health?
Yes. Yes, it has. The counties have been notified, both the leadership.
Mm-hmm. And if they have
and also the Maryland Department of the Environment is also notified.
Has anyone in the government said they're going to come and help you? Because you need the help right away.
Joel, thank you.
Yeah. Please give us a report out
Joel. Okay,
in writing to get this thing cleared up.
Okay, we'll get the information and distribute it when they have it. Dave Souders, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, two quick questions. One, to follow up on the fluoridation, just so I'm clear, when the supply chain issue is fixed, they're going to go back to the prior levels. Is that correct?
That is the plan.
Okay. And the other thing is sort of a lesser question, but can a property owner figure out how old their pipes are to their house, their water and their sewer? And I guess I'm asking because I keep getting inundated with offers to insure my pipes. And maybe I would be less or more willing if my 100-year-old house had 100-year-old pipes. So can somebody find that out?
So one way to figure out the age, normally of course it coincides with when the home was originally built, but I'm sure over time there has been replacements. Permits should have been pulled for any of those major pipeline replacements in your home. So with your address and contact information, we can connect you with someone in our permits office to determine if permits were pulled at any specific time frames for replacements in your house. Now, if unfortunately, at times homeowners tend to do some plumbing work without proper permits, and if that happened, then we would not have any records of it. But anything that has been permitted, we'd be able to pull that information and get it to you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from Genevieve. Our community understood that the large Montgomery Hills Silver Spring Water Tower was to be refurbished starting some time ago. What has held up that project, and what is the new timeline?
This is Alan Wong. I don't have the information at my fingertips on that water tower, but we can provide that information, in a couple days once we can go back into our records, and we'd be happy to give you an answer.
This neighborhood, just so you know, is Georgia Avenue, just south of the Beltway.
Georgia Avenue, just south of Beltway. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say we have a major standpipe and water storage tank, program. So I'm sure that it is in that program, and we just need to find out exactly when it's programmed and if there's been any delays and so forth. But one of the things that we we are dealing with is that some of these tanks need to be sandblasted, so they can be, refinished. And so the sandblasting activity is something that has some noise levels that could be a community concern. So we're working very closely with the communities where we are doing these projects to make sure that we can do everything we can to keep those noise levels down.
Okay, Karen Bolte, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I actually had two quick questions. One of my questions was regarding the Germantown um, sewer pipe break. My understanding was that one of the reasons it wasn't as bad as it could have been was because only the top of the pipe broke. So I was wondering if you could address what would have happened if the pipe had completely broken and there was an actual sewage overflow, where would that have gone and would it have affected the elementary school, which was right next to it? And then my other question was, I live in Wildwood Manor in Bethesda, and we had a water main break during the winter on one of our neighborhood roads, which WSSC fixed. But then in this spring, we had a sinkhole form and it was really dangerous. It was like a sinkhole. You look down there, 4 feet of nothing. Anyone could have fallen in there. A car could have fallen in there. So we alerted uh, all the relevant agencies. WSSC did come out very quickly to patch it and then ultimately ground up and repaved the road. But I was wondering when you do have these kinds of water main breaks, especially during the winter, that need to be repaired, what kind of follow-up are you doing to make sure that there are not these kinds of additional problems like the sinkhole that formed, which I'm sure was a result of that water main break?
Okay, you may have to help me keep track of the second question. Let me try and address the first one. So with the Germantown sewer, yes, it was the top of the pipe that did collapse. And that is very typical of large sewer mains constructed of it was a precast concrete sewer main. And the reason the top of the pipe is typically compromised is because that's the portion of the pipeline that hydrogen sulfide, which is very corrosive, can attack the material. And so in most cases, the when you have failures on sewer mains, it typically happens at the top of the pipe, large sewer mains, because there is flow. Generally, depending on how much of an area is being served by the sewer main, you generally may have even up to a half of the pipe completely filled with sewers most of the time. There's not much concern there because, the pipe is able to carry the flow. The hydrogen sulfide cannot attack those portions of the pipe. And so it is very typical that it is the top of the pipe that gets compromised. What would have happened if there was an overflow? Based on the location, let's suppose the downstream portion of the pipe was blocked by the debris. The overflow would have gone into more than likely the nearby storm drain. There was a storm drain nearby on the opposite side of the street, or even down. There was a slight incline on the downstream side of the pipe, and would have overflowed to that point and into a nearby stream. But back towards the school would not have happened in this case. And so we were pretty lucky that the downstream end of the pipe did not get blocked. The flow was able to go through, and we were able to mitigate any threat of that overflow. But not unusual to see the top of a pipe fail in these situations. That's typically what happens. Now, in terms of water mains, and if I don't water main breaks, let me know if I'm hitting. First of all, did I get the first question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes. So the normal practice for water main breaks is as our crews respond to a break, our primary response is to mitigate. We want to, shut the main down, make sure that there's no continuous damage to any infrastructure, whether it's the roads, nearby homes. and then we perform the repairs. Our crews that respond, the utility services crews, we would do what a temporary patch. So if you have a break, what you see afterwards is a temporary patch that is installed. Those patches get inspected on a regular basis. Unfortunately, there are times when we do have failed temporary patches, and it sounds like we did here. And as quickly as we could, we did respond to take care of it. Permanent patching happens generally anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks on the normal circumstances. In the winter, it's a little bit longer because a lot of the asphalt plants are closed, and so the paving companies tend not to be as quick to respond for permanent patch. And what we want to make sure is that the crews that respond to the break, they're not pavers. We're not experts in paving. So we have contractors that are experts in paving, make sure we have the right compaction and the proper paving. And so generally between, I would say, March and end of October, we can get permanent patch done within 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks. In the wintertime, unfortunately, it takes a little bit longer. So we're working on 4 to 8 weeks at times.
Okay, thank you for that. Brianna Head asks, she got a bill for $443 on a vacant property and there were no leaks. Why would something like that happen and how can she get that resolved?
So I would recommend that you send us your address. Now, is there a chance we can get all of the questions compiled and sent to us so we can respond? Because the best way to address an issue like this is to get the address and
Okay,
do an assessment, an investigation of the account, and maybe even take a look at the meter.
okay. Brianna, do you want to put your address in the chat or
Or
privately?
or you can send it to me directly if you'd like.
Okay, well, I
I
won't
can
have it. I won't
I
have
will
it.
drop my email address in the chat, and so
Okay, and she can send it directly. That's a good idea.
yes, for this
Okay,
question or any other questions,
okay,
I can take.
okay.
Okay.
Maybe someone else can answer this question. It says, I live in Silver Spring. There are times when the water coming out of our faucet not only tastes bad, but stinks. Why is that and how do you fix it? Shit. Hello?
Any?
Somebody hear that question?
Yes, I heard it. I guess there's no takers right now. Again, if you would send us that
Alan,
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Akile. Will you?
Yes. Thank you for letting us know about the test and order in your water. We encourage our customers to let us know if they experience that, and we appreciate the feedback. Test and order can occur due to natural changes in source water, such as seasonal algal activity, algae bloom. But please be assured that the water remains safe and will continue to meet all drinking water quality standards. And our team is also actively monitoring conditions and adjusting treatment process to reduce these occurrences. So we encourage you to report it so we can look into the area and see what can be done to alleviate the problem. But my answer is very general, and unless we know the specifics. So report it, and we'll look into it.
Liz Joyce, go ahead.
Yes, my question relates to planning for infrastructure. We have been concerned that in Montgomery County, the planners and the council often pass measures to increase the number of homes and the densification in specific areas which are already established neighborhoods. My question is, do they consult with you about the current capacity or what it would take to provide adequate capacity for these proposals?
Yes, we have a development services group within engineering and construction, and they are working with the various permitting agencies in the county. And there's a protocol, procedures that need to be followed for providing us the information in terms of what the square footage and the size of the new areas that need to be connected. And then we do hydraulic modeling to determine whether our system is adequate to provide that service. And if not, then we identify adjustments to the system, enlargement, additional pipelines that not only would serve that particular customer, but others that may be in the same situation. So there is a process, and those in the counties are responsible for working closely with us and vice versa to make a decision if the system is adequate to provide the service that is being requested.
Is that information public that you provide to them?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Again, if you have a specific situation that you would like us to take a look at, we'd be happy to do that. We also have WSSC personnel on site at the counties to specifically work closely with the county's permitting group and planning group.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
welcome.
Quentin, go ahead. Yeah, Don, you mute yourself.
Yes, I'm Quentin Remine. I'm with the Cloverleaf Civic Association. And I can remember the times when maybe 25 or 30 years ago, we could use the Duckett's Reservoir and the other reservoirs associated with the Patuxent River and as recreation, and we could fish. People could fish in there and take the fish and eat the fish. Over the past few years, there's been more pressures for development, and the streams have become very much contaminated. They're so contaminated that they have signs that in the recreational areas around the reservoirs to watch your children and dogs and make sure they do not have any contact with the water. And if they do have contact with the water, they're urged to immediately wash the child or the dog so that they don't get sick. Our concern is that WSSC doesn't support us at all in trying to limit development so that the areas that drain into the reservoir are kept safe from overdevelopment and from poor uses. One particular recent use, they allowed a green cemetery. Green cemetery is where the bodies are buried without caskets, just in the ground. Basically, Baltimore has a similar situation where there is a reservoir, and they disallowed the green cemetery in their reservoir drainage area. But WSSC encouraged such things, and we continually have situations where WSSC doesn't discourage development. They really say there's no problem and encourage it. And the answer we continually get is, well, we can always put more chemicals in the water to make them drinkable. I think we should have more concern for keeping our water as clean as possible in our reservoirs, rather than spinning the dial and taking a chance that someday there's going to be a contamination of it. Certainly, this past incident in the Potomac area is a wake-up call for us too, because we would like our reservoirs to be clean, and we may not ever be able to use them for recreation, and we may not allow our children and dogs to get near the water, but we can't continue to let them get worse and worse. We certainly encourage WSSC to support us in not supporting these projects. These projects are not necessary. Water for the community is more necessary, that we keep the water clean, than for someone to build a green cemetery or have other uses that potentially contaminate the water. So that's is my question then, is WSSC doing anything now to find more sources for cleaner water, or and I understand that the Patuxent River is not unusual. The Potomac River is as contaminated as the Duckett's Reservoir, or the Patuxent River is. But we need to have the cleanest sources of water, and we need WSSC to support
Okay.
us in
All right, let's give them a chance to
limiting
answer that.
development. So, is there anything being done to get us cleaner water?
Yeah, I'll take that. Source water protection is a very important program that we have within WSSC Water. It's not only WSSC Water program, but there is a regional program that we collaborate to protect the sources. ICPRB is involved, and other regional entities are also involved, along with state agencies in making sure that our sources are protected, identifying potential sources that may contaminate. That's part of it. Monitoring, we have constant monitoring of our source water on the Potomac as well as on the Patuxent. So that is, we take that very seriously. And so again, we have WSSC water programs for source control as well as regional collaboration to protect sources. And then plus the monitoring, not only at the intake point, but across, for example, the Potomac, along the Potomac and also on the Patuxent. So we, just to say that we take that very seriously. To your question of identifying other sources, I think previously we discussed about looking into secondary sources as well as secondary additional reservoirs, so we can have enough sources as well as definitely good quality source. So it's a very general answer, I know, but just to say that we take this seriously and we have programs to make sure that we monitor and control sources.
Alan Bowser, go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here this evening. It's been very educational. I took lots of notes, and I wanted to mention that our Civic Federation is almost as old as WSSC. We were founded in 1925, so we're 101 years old. And one question that comes up periodically about your bi-county structure, has anybody evaluated whether or not it's still efficient, makes sense to have a bi-county organization? Would there be any cost savings if Prince George's and Montgomery had separate organizations for doing that? So that's a question about, has anybody done 100 years sort of assessment of whether or not it's still accomplishing its purposes? And then quickly, one of the issues that also comes up in our conversations a lot is about the prospects for new data centers up county in the Dickerson area and taking water out of the Potomac, and wondering how you've evaluated that and whether or not these new facilities be able to process water on their site and not adversely affect the Potomac.
So, Alan, do you go ahead, Akila? You can start.
Yeah, on your first question, I'm not sure if there's been any kind of study along what you described, but we would take it and respond if there's any. But keep in mind, we have a very large system that is integrated. So there's from reliability perspective, as well as delivering the services in a very cost-effective way, and that those are the things that would be factored in continuing the structure that we have right now. On your question on the second part, if you can repeat the second part again, I would appreciate it.
Data centers and the impact on
Data centers, yeah, okay. Data centers, yeah, we are we know some of the adverse impacts of data centers when it comes to water use as well as energy use. So that is something that needs to be very looked at very thoughtfully in a very objective way to make sure that it doesn't really interfere with the services that we provide from source water perspective. I mean, some utilities, for example, in Columbus is one utility that area that has been that has a lot of data centers, and so the demand for water has gone up significantly. The ICPRB, Interstate Commission for the Potomac River, is also tracking regionally on data centers that are being built or proposed throughout the region, and to make sure that we are aware of what is coming and that we prepared for it, and having those discussions also with the right authorities to again make sure that it doesn't have any adverse impact on our services that we provide for our customers.
And then, Cheryl, if you would, Mr. Wong, you mentioned that when you showed us the numbers about the CIP program for WSSC, you said that there was a 35% reduction from this period until the next period. I was surprised by that, thinking if the need was so great, why is the total amount of the CIP going down from this one to the next one?
Well, there's because these projects are generally, 3 to 4 years in terms of implementation, or even 5, depending on the size of the project. There are projects that are getting completed and commissioned, and so there aren't projects in that planning cycle that would replace those projects in kind. So, but we will see an oscillation in terms of that, of that trend. And right now, because we did have a 9% rate increase several years ago, it happened at a good time, and we were able to get more projects, let's say, through the door and installed. But we've been, we have rate hearings every year with both counties, and the likelihood of rate increases at that level are just not feasible, from the county's perspective. And we also want to prioritize our projects like Alan Savageau was describing, so that our CIP is optimized. So we're not going up and down as much as we have been. So I think it's a good observation, Alan, that and what we're trying to do is moderate and reach a more steady course over 4 or 5 years in terms of the size of the CIP.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Alan, I can also add to one of your first questions. Akile talked about when you talked about splitting the utility into 2 counties. That was your first question. Some of us have been here long enough to know that has been discussed before. I don't think there's been a formal study. The last time that I remember was back in around 1999, when there was a task force on privatizing WSSC. One of the leading factors why we did not privatize was reasons that the other gentleman brought up about public health and protecting our reservoir water quality. But during those discussions, those did come up about the counties, but for reasons that Akile mentioned, it never went into a formal study, because I don't think any parties, once they started to go over the data, I think we all felt the same way. For us to do the best job we can do the most efficiently, and we're so interconnected, it was best to leave WSSC the way it was. So I don't think formal studies have transpired over the 29 years I've been here, but it has been discussed.
Thank you.
Okay, last question is here in the chat box. What's been done or is planned to mitigate the dangers of storm drains around the county?
Wow.
All right. So, for this meeting, well, let me just say, stormwater management is not the responsibility of WSSC Water.
Oh,
They are county owned and maintained.
okay. All right, let's leave it at that then. Then I'll give myself the very last question and you can just give me a short answer, not a long one. We have a lot of water main breaks every winter. Do we have the normal amount you would expect in an area this size, or is it related to a breakdown of our water mains?
You want to take that, Alan?
Sure. Yeah, Glenn. Glenn's responsible for the maintenance crews that have to repair. So he would like to see zero, and I'm sure everyone else would as well. So, what we see, we currently have a goal of a level of service goal of water main breaks of staying under 34 breaks and leaks per 100 miles of water pipe each year. We've been successful staying under that goal, but what we see in the winter months, and mainly with winter months with extreme weather conditions, such as we've had probably the past 2 years, as well back in 2018. So we've had a few of them. When we have large temperature swings or dips in temperature, below freezing and the water temperature itself gets cold, not just the surface temperature, unfortunately, that's when the water breaks happen. We have looked at data from the AWWA as well as a Utah State study that was comparing water main breaks and leaks at all the utilities, or not all the utilities, but at multiple utilities across all the U.S. And we've compared our data with theirs, and we've also discussed of lowering that level of service that I mentioned from 34 breaks and leaks down to something lower, and trying to figure out a way we can do that without the capital budget increasing dramatically, because it does cost quite a bit to replace water mains. So, are we normal? When you look at the AWWA survey, it appears that we were not where we wanted to be. We were above the median, and we want to get down to that point. When you look at the Utah State, who only looked at that study looked at breaks only, not breaks and leaks. That study broke up utilities based on their geography, where they were located, and basically by climate. When you compare us with everyone in the same climate, we are right on mark with them. And I think that's approximately 16 breaks per 100 miles. And that was the average in the region that we're in, and we were right around 15.8 if I'm not mistaken. That was about like 18 months ago when we compared those numbers. So regardless of whether we think we're in line with the other utilities, we know that this is stressing the public and it's stressing our own staff in about a 3 to 4 month period every year, and we're trying to think of creative ways to lower that number. We are looking at AI and machine learning models. Even though we use one now, we're looking at how to make it better to help predict which pipes are going to break. And Glenn, I don't want to misspeak or something, but I believe utility services may be looking to be more surgical and going out and maybe replacing smaller water main segments that we think are probably going to break in the winter, doing that ahead of engineering construction. And engineering construction typically handles the large planned projects that can take years to permit. I mean, plan, design, and construct. So Glenn, you want to add anything to that?
No, Alan, you did cover it. We are working in coordination with engineering to see if we can quickly mitigate some of the more chronic breaks that we know we see them a lot as the maintenance teams, and so we're working with engineering to see if we can pull some of those projects and get them done expeditiously.
Okay, so Alan Wong, could you email us this whole PowerPoint that you did, because we have members asking for it. They'd like to review it.
be happy to, Cheryl. Yes.
That would be great. So we would distribute that to our members. And we will collect this chat and I'll send you any questions that that seem like they're for individuals that you might be able to answer. I want to say thank you to this team. It was a great and really interesting presentation. I learned a lot from it that I didn't know, and I appreciate you being here, staying here so late, and all the work that you put into that presentation. I'm very grateful for your help and participation today.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes,
All right.
thank you for the invite also. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. We enjoyed having
Thank
you.
you.
Have a
All
good
right,
night.
thanks. Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us. Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Yep.
Night.
Civic
Good
Fed
night.
members, hang on here for a minute.
Let's see.
Jerry, I know that you have a treasurer's report to give. Do you want to go ahead and give it? You're muted.
That's what I want to give the treasurer's report.
Okay, go ahead.
We operate on a fiscal year from July 1, 2025 through April 13th, 2026. We've taken in $2,131. We've had expenditures of $2,186, giving us a net loss for the period of $55. Our current bank balance is $5,633. And our major expenditure this past month was our insurance, which they've raised slightly to $802 a year. But that's non-recurring till a year from now.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to announcements. I just want to let you all know that the annual awards dinner that we have will be held on Sunday, June 7th at 5 p.m. I'm working right now to secure Los Churros restaurant in Silver Spring for a dinner buffet. We'll be announcing the award recipients next week after we let the individuals know of their award. But I would like you to please mark your calendar for June 7th at 5 p.m. and attend our dinner, maybe even bring someone else from your civic association. It's really nice to have a good group to celebrate the outstanding work that some of our civic groups and members have done over the last year. So we're hoping to have a good crowd. It'll be right before the primary. I'm guessing there will be some elected officials showing up for that. And so we hope to see you all there on June 7th. Are there any other announcements?
Yeah, I'd like to make one.
Go ahead.
Kind of self-interested. So in addition to this work, I'm on the Board of Conservation Montgomery. Some of you have heard of it. On April 21st at 6 o'clock, we're having a Earth Day fundraiser at the Silver Spring American Legion on Fenton Street. And we're going to recognize Dr. Royce Hanson, the father of the Ag Reserve, and Joe Howard, the founder of the county's Big Tree Program. So that's April 21st, 6 o'clock in downtown Silver Spring.
Do people just come, Alan, or do they need to buy a ticket or reserve something?
They could just show up, and I think there will be like a $20 ticket charge. There is an RSP link that I'll try to share around, but I couldn't find it today.
Okay, all right. Under old business, nominations committee, at the last meeting that we had, I announced that we would take a confirmation vote tonight for a nominations committee as required by our bylaws. I've named Joe Harkins of Parkwood as the chair. Committee members, Ken Markerson of West Chevy Chase, Elizabeth Joyce, our first vice president, Jay Alvolve of North Hills of Sligo, and Sherry Weiss of Lux Manor. I'll make a motion to approve this. All those in favor of affirming this group?
Well, second.
A second, right? A second it. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Opposed? Any abstentions? The committee is approved. I'll just update you. The nominations committee will report a recommended slate for officers at the May meeting. If anyone is interested in running for an officer position, please notify Joe Harkins of Parkwood. Joe, if you could put your email address in the chat box, please. You can email Joe, or you can actually email any of us on the board, and we will forward that to Joe for you. Also, any individual delegate can be nominated from the floor of the May 11th meeting with the support of 3 civic associations. Please see our bylaws online for the job descriptions of officers and the nomination and election procedures. A ballot will be emailed to delegates immediately after the May 11th meeting. Your civic association must be in good standing, have currently paid dues in order to vote. Your delegates that you've named with email addresses will be the ones getting a ballot. Oftentimes delegates change or officers change in civic associations, and we don't have any way of knowing that. What we have in our email list is who will be getting ballots. It's a good idea to go into simplydues.com or email one of us on the board and if you need to check and see if your dues are up to date and who your delegates are, that we have correct email addresses for your delegates. Is there any other old business that anyone wants to bring up? Under new business, I'll just go into this very briefly, but there was a situation where a Montgomery County resident submitted a Public Information Act request for the survey and outreach data that planning had accumulated, which they used in their public documents and their testimony to say that the community supported the University Boulevard plan. Initially, that resident was told they could have the data for $1,100. She abandoned it, and another resident of Chevy Chase refiled the request and got that same response. He then this is the normal procedure, asked for a waiver of that fee on the grounds that there was a public interest in reviewing the data. The MNCPPC denied that, saying there's no public interest in anyone seeing this data because we've already summarized it for you. After that, he requested mediation with the ombudsman and spent 3 months trying to get MNCPC and planning to engage with him on mediation. Instead of doing that, they came back and issued a denial saying they had changed their position, that there is an exception for research projects. You don't have to supply the data of a research project. And they said master plans are the ultimate research project. Once that happened, it became a Civic Federation problem because that is just a major change in the public's right to access data. There's all kinds of things that come under master plans, traffic studies, fiscal notes, environmental studies, all kinds of things. So to say the master plan was a research project, we therefore don't have to give you the data anymore, is huge. It violates the law and many court decisions that have upheld the Maryland Public Information Act. So I asked the resident, some of you may know is Kevin Bromberg and Chevy Chase, if the Civic Federation could do a statement in support of his appeal, address the really broad negative ramifications that the current position MNCPPC has taken will have on public access to data. And he agreed to that. I spent the weekend doing a statement. He has it. He's going to attach it to his statement, and it'll be submitted, I think, tomorrow. So I will email around Kevin's appeal, and that includes the Civic Federation statement. So you may be interested in reading all of it, but I feel like people need to know what position the Civic Federation has taken now on this issue. I don't have it to email around today because Kevin is putting finishing touches on what was really an excellent job on his part. And I'll have the whole thing. I should have the whole thing tomorrow afternoon when he files it, and I'll circulate it to Civic Federation members. I'm also thinking about and talking to some people about how we raise this issue with council members or legislators. If this decision stands on appeal, we will have to get a change to the MPIA law in the legislature to reverse this. And getting bills like that passed it's huge. Would take years if it was ever successful. So I've just started thinking about getting some council members involved in trying to appeal to MNC PPC to abandon this very harmful position. So that's that announcement. Also, we understand that the governor, I think I emailed people about this, will have another bill on housing next session rather than, waiting and trying to scramble around and defeat it. We thought maybe we could try to get ahead of it. If anyone has any interest in being part of a small committee to look at the data and start planning our response, the bill is going to be a targets bill that applies to jurisdictions and how much housing they have to produce. And we have some preview of how they see the issue from a presentation that they made at planning a few weeks ago, last month. We have the Council of Governments data, and Linda Nemec has done a good job of kind of breaking out what a research project for the Civic Fed would look like. So please email me if you have an interest in that and you think you can participate and help with that. And our May meeting is on the 11th, and Joyce Squads and I are talking about kind of doing a little town hall on data centers. There's a lot of interest in them, and getting maybe 3 people in different sort of areas of expertise around data centers, and try to really dig into the whole issue. I'm sure you've seen the council has a big split. Evan Glass wanted to study the issues for a period of time. There's a group of council members ready to go forward and just take, I don't know, I think Fairfax's rules and move on. And planning has approved a facility at the Dickerson site. Has approved the zoning, or I think some kind of planning has approved something for the Dickerson site. And then there's environmental issues. So try to put together a really good program for you. As always, all of our programs are open to the public. You can invite people in your neighborhood or an aligned group that might be interested, the environmental groups or whatever. So that's what we have planned for May. Anything that you all want to talk about tonight? Okay, well then it's time to a motion to adjourn. Someone want to make, oh, Quentin, go ahead.
I
Quentin.
just wondered, you had mentioned something about there was a group working to examine some of the candidates running for county council. And with a
Yeah.
huge turnover, I mean, the Civic Fed is doing a great job. But if somebody else has got a different agenda, like encouraging development, we're not going to get anywhere. We have to have some people who look at and lead the county with some objective views rather than.
Yeah, I hear you.
So how is that?
So our
are there
bylaws
any-
prohibit the Civic Fed from engaging in partisan political activity. There is a group of various civic people who have gotten themselves together to try to come up with a slate. I don't really say much more than that because it doesn't belong in a Civic Fed meeting, except
Okay.
I can connect anyone with that group. And happy to do it. I can just forward your email to the right people if there are people that want to get involved.
Okay.
But
I'll send you an email. I don't know if I was involved in the last one, and
yeah,
we were just too late to get anything meaningfully
yeah.
done.
I know there's a lot of frustration among the civic associations, and I think that is fair to talk about. People feel like they're not listened to, they're not heard, and it just seems to get more out of control every day. When you read what I send you on the MPIA, you will realize that these people are just out of control, and something has to change. But I think that's probably as far as I can go. Happy to connect you with a group that's trying to think
I
about.
just outside of that, I'll just say WSSC was a nice presentation they did, but there's no reason why they can't protect our water. All the county water is polluted. And yeah,
Yeah.
they can dump more chemicals in it, and pretty soon it's going to taste like chlorine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't even buy the plastic is destroying our brains. So bottled water is now becoming suspect. So what are people gonna? People can't even get water to drink anymore. So we we're not asking, we're just asking WSSC not to approve every development project that destroys the environment and pollutes
Yeah.
the reservoir worse. I mean,
Yeah.
we've gone
I mean, I
from,
guess we could pick out a handful of projects and ask to see what their input to planning was, to see if they ever say anything other than
Mm-hmm.
right
I
ahead.
can give, I have a person that we're dealing with who's got a treasure trove of information, and he can, I was hoping he could speak, but he wasn't available. But we have a lot of technical information available to us from him that
Mhm.
much defines what's going on in the Patuxent watershed.
Yeah.
And it's, all the development in Olney, or not in Olney, in Ashton, green,
Yeah.
green light, and WSSC, oh yeah, come on, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, pretty soon it's going to be beyond repair.
Yeah. That's
So
depressing. Thanks, Quentin. Okay. Is anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for your
Thank you.
Thank you. Great
long
meeting.
program. Thank
Yep.
you.